Whoa, whoa, that's not supposed to be playing. Hold on a second, folks. Whoa. Oh, I'm sorry about that. That never happens. It's hard to get good help these days. Welcome back to Truth Quest. My name is Aaron Moriarity. I will be your host, and we're going to go on a quest for truth together. And tonight, friends, we got a returning guest, a very special treat, the famous, you might know him from TV, Jeremy Ray. Welcome, Jeremy.
How you doing, Aaron?
If I was doing any better, I'd be you.
Oh, no. I want you to know that of all the podcasts I've done, Truth Quest has been fun for me. And I usually get nervous before I do a podcast, but I feel totally welcomed every time I come on your show. So,
well, thank you very much. Thank you
sir.
so much. I really, really appreciate that. Yeah. And a glitch here and there because we're human, but we always try to make everyone feel at home. You know, I was with a friend watching one of the DVDs that you sent me of Hangar 1 that you were in. I think it was a season 2 episode, and you were in it. And I was saying, well, I got to have Jeremy back on the show. And then, wouldn't you know it, not too much time, like one day later, Jeremy messages me.
You must have psychically been pinging me. So I was thinking about you too. And you know what? When you told me about that, I was like, "What do you mean? I gave you a show?" And now it's starting to remember the first episode I remember now. The first episode that we did together, I had to cancel because I had a flood down here. I don't know if you remember that.
Right.
I felt terrible. So anyway, I was like, I'll make it up to you, Aaron. So I sent you a copy of the show. Mm-hmm. The rest is history.
Yes. And he even signed the box here, friends. Look at that. There it is.
What's weird about that box set is I don't know why, but in America, you can't purchase that. You have to buy it in Australia. And so I had to buy that in Australia and have it shipped over here. But they don't sell hard copies of I think because I don't really know why. You just couldn't buy it here because I remember I walked into like a Borders Books to see if I could find a DVD to the show, and then I started to realize maybe they're not going to make a DVD of it. And then one day I was searching on eBay and they had them up for sale in some video shop in Australia. I bought a whole bunch of them because I wanted to hand them out as gifts. And the guy kept telling me this DVD is not going to work in America because it's like a certain type of format.
Yeah.
Now, if you put it in your computer, it'd work. But if you put it in a regular DVD, it's not going to work. But obviously it works at your house.
I always use a confuser. So, yeah.
Okay. But so when I told him I was the guy on the show, he was kind of blown away because I'm the only customer behind him, I guess. And so he gave me a discount. So sometimes I order them and I just give them out as gifts. It's kind of a nice thing.
So now you did this it was for the History Channel too, right? One of the History Channel channels, right?
Right. It was a long time ago. History Channel 2 doesn't exist anymore. I believe Vice bought it out.
Okay. But now wait a minute now. If I was in charge of making a show like Hangar 1,
mm-hmm.
however you want to say it, I would make sure that every single person who appeared on there got a full set of DVDs.
Oh, well, I take that back. The producer of the show actually, I'm pretty sure some of my co-stars are going to be a little jealous, but he really liked me and he gave me the, it's called the, oh my God, what's the terminology? Something set, but it was the original DVDs that they used to pitch to sell to the History Channel. And he gave me a copy of it and I have it. I have it over here. I should have brought it forward, but
that's cool.
But it's like DVD format. It's not really good quality. It's not Blu-ray. And then of course we got 4K Blu-ray now, but Yep.
Wow. So now, I think you told me you just got promoted MUFON, right?
I'm the chief investigator of Colorado. That's the title they give me. Chief investigator of Colorado MUFON. So basically my job duty now, I'm not investigating like I've done for over the last 16 years. What I'm doing is I get to look at all the cases coming in at real time. So I'm kind of like on call. I'm always checking my emails, checking the phone because I can't, as soon as a case pops in, I've got to assign it. And then it's kind of like, I don't want to, like if you were an investigator, Aaron, I don't want to assign you like 5 cases in a row. So I try to spread them out. And I've got a great team of investigators. And like I say, they're pretty rock solid. But I'm going to let you know right now, these cases are coming in left and right because of all the promotion of UFOs on the news these days. So some people saw a UFO 15 years ago and they feel like they need to report it. And some saw one last night and they feel like they need to report it. You're not going to call the police, so people just type in Google, where can I file a UFO report? And there's a lot of UFO organizations out there and some of them are fantastic, but MUFON is like the only organization that actually investigates each report. Everyone that comes in, we assign an investigator to. Wow. So some of my guys are working around the clock, and like I say, it's not a paying job. This is a nonprofit, and we're all volunteers, and you just got to have the passion to do it, and it doesn't feel like a job. But some of these cases, I'm telling you, I come in and I'm like, WTF, what the hell is this? And then some, I know right away that it's a lens flare, and I might have a newbie investigator that might need to, I would send it to them and get them an idea. This is what you need to look for. And so I do training. Actually, I'm training this week. And then we got a huge boot camp that we're doing with investigators and people that want to be investigators. And I'll be training a course on the basics, but then I'll also getting into consciousness and how the mind works. So a lot of people, when they see a UFO, they will relate it to culture. And what I mean by that is like television shows, what you saw on X-Files or Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and how that affects people's descriptions. And I'll be going over that kind of stuff. And so it'll be a little different. Just something to spice up the class, because some of it can be kind of mundane. Yeah.
But you should do like an online course. I think you probably got a lot of people signing up for that.
I hope they do a live podcast out there, because I know not everybody can make it. And and then archiving on YouTube or something.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
That's a great idea, Aaron. I'll bring it up to the board. I'm pretty sure they probably are already ahead of me on that, but
you should have all your investigators, give them a shoulder cam, so a camera for their shoulder.
Okay.
And they can like film everything.
Yeah, it's going to be up in the mountains. I think it's I don't know if you've ever been to Greeley, Colorado.
No, actually, I've never been to anything Colorado.
Well, it's God's country. It is. You ever played video games? It's like Skyrim. It's beautiful. It's just majestic.
I have a video game system. It's from 1982. It's called Vectrex, and it's not very detailed.
You got it in mint condition?
Well, it's got a melted part because the previous owner had a lamp too close to it, but it still works.
Wow.
It's got tank battle. It's got Star Castle, pole position. But
I remember those games. I'm like just a little bit younger than you, so
Line Matrix. It has its own TV built in. It's like this big, and you got these colored clear plastic things you put on. That's where the color comes from. Right.
Yeah, it's like a little overlay that you slide through. Yeah. I remember. How are they going to do these graphics? It's actually like little light things that go back and forth.
Right.
So if you got like a soccer game,
it's vector graphics. Yeah.
Vector graphics. Thank you. And so they would take like the soccer field. So if it's like a soccer game, they would put it over it, overlay.
Yeah.
And that's pretty awesome. I'm glad you still got that. I wonder how much that's worth. That might be worth something.
I thought it was worth something a few years ago. I thought, oh, it's from 1982, still works. I wonder what it's worth. $80. You can get them all day long on eBay. So I'd get one. get one because
Keep
it's fun.
keep
play.
it for sentimental value. Yeah.
And it's really good, engaging gameplay. Actually, really, it's pretty good gameplay. You don't need all the bells and whistles, just the basics. You know.
Hmm. Well, if you could see right here, I don't have room to hide
I
it
can
for the
see it. Yeah,
podcast.
it looks like Tron.
Tron Arcade, yeah.
Is that Tron?
Yes, sir.
I could tell just by this. You know what's sad? I just recently saw a couple of video games like that, standard video games outside, all just ruined. Tron and Robotron. Like someone just put them outside the garage and they just they're melting. Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
sad.
that to me, when I was a kid growing up, that was pure magic. I loved it when my mom would take me to the mall, give me like a couple of quarters, and I would run to the arcade.
Mhm.
And yeah, the youth these days are missing out on. Well, of course, there's better video games out there, but that was the times. The 80s,
Yeah.
late 70s, and 80s.
Oh yeah.
Good times.
Yes, I remember Defender was a big one. People loved playing that, and when Pac-Man came out, that became huge.
Hmm.
You know, and I really liked Pac-Man because it was abstract. You know, it wasn't killing or shooting or it was just eating little dots. You know, I like that.
I remember the Pac-Man cereal. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a long time ago. You got to eat those marshmallows.
yeah.
Sorry.
I even had the Pac-Man stickers too. I thought it was pretty cool. I had the original Nintendo with the robot.
Oh yeah,
I still got that somewhere.
that's actually worth money. If you got all the parts for it, it's worth money.
Because I use the parts for other toy concepts.
Well, we could talk shop about video games because I know a lot about that stuff because I grew up on it. But
Cool.
I will say in the UFO field, what's going on right now, I don't know if you watched the congressional hearing. Did you watch that?
Oh, otherwise known as the Nothing Burger. Yeah, I
Thank
saw.
you.
I saw a very small portion of it, and it was as I would thought it would be.
Well, the only part I liked was they did bring up MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. So I was like, hey, nice shout out. But it's really not that bad. I gotta find for me and you, we're UFO buffs, so there's nothing new under the sun. But for the average person out there, it's definitely a good stepping stone because I think it's kind of dangerous to dump it all on everybody. People like you and me are ready, but the average person out there that's not into UFOs, not to say it's going to cause a panic, but a part of my intuition, and I'm not the only one that thinks this, is I think the first disclosure is going to be a lie, 100% lie. And then the second disclosure will be the truth. It depends on if they need funding, for their defense budget, or you wave the national security flag. We're not in control of our skies. We need to get down to the bottom of it. I hope that, what would be more scarier, a foreign country having this technology way more ahead of us, or somebody from out of town that's just zipping and buying, and just doing their own thing. I know that the Air Force has tried really hard to pin these things down, and Raytheon has come up with sophisticated things that they've mounted on aircraft to take pictures of these things. But have we ever shot one down? Have we ever pinned one down? Seems like they still, even back during the 1950s, they still could do circles around us. When you listen to Commander Fravor's description of the Tic Tac, but I think the majority of the people don't believe the media these days. It's starting to gain more momentum.
Yeah,
and I've always felt that Tic Tac UFO is one of ours. I don't know. It just doesn't seem alien enough to me. I don't know, but I could be wrong.
I just want to say really quickly to the people in the chat. No, this is a live show. We're live, actually. Hello, 1 Foot and 5D. Hello, Alara, Mad Pogue, James Rohrback, and everybody else. Just Josh. We're live. We're doing this live. But but yeah, there was, they were thinking maybe this was pre-recorded or something, but
Oh, well, hi, everybody. Yeah.
actually
No,
we
this
are pre-recording this. I just put that in there so they think that.
cool. A couple of my friends would like to watch this show. So maybe after it's over with, I can get a link from you and fire it off.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, let's see here. So yeah, now for me, now I use my own discernment, and for me, we've had disclosure, and it happened in books. It happened with Colonel Philip J. Corso's Day After Roswell. It happened with, you know, all of these books. I mean, there's so many. And Bob Lazar. I mean, we know that they have had, at least at one time, these craft, because we have people who've actually worked on them. And I for one, I believe Lazar's story. I totally believe it. So anything that the government says, like you said, it's not going to be truthful. And they're going to be giving little crumbs. And they're going to stretch this tic-tac thing out for the next 50 years. It's going to be the new Roswell. It's going to be the thing they talk about, so they don't have to talk about anything else.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
I wouldn't be surprised. I actually will go a little step further. I wouldn't be surprised that in the future, like, you know, something's going to come up and they need something to clog the airways, and there'll be like a tic-tac UFO got too close to us, to a passenger plane. They're getting a little too aggressive, and they'll throw that out there. And, you know, well, what was going on that day when the hearing was happening? Was there anything special?
Yeah, the Durham.
The Durham. Yeah, I know.
Well,
I know. I was more excited about that than I was the congressional hearing. But yeah.
And the baby formula shortage, and all of, you know, the 40-year high inflation and all those things. I think they all kind of added up to that. But yeah, I was very underwhelmed. They showed a triangular shaped through night vision and a little dot. That was it. I mean, those are the smallest crumbs I mean, the people in the know must be just,
well.
Now for me, I want to rip the Band-Aid off. I don't care. I don't care if someone can't handle it. They'll produce their own bubble to live in. I don't care. I think we need to rip the Band-Aid off and go, okay, because you can always find a reason to not do it. I say just do it.
I'm totally for it too. And I think the majority of the people have been conditioned through sci-fi shows, everything from Star Trek to, we can just go on and on and on about shows. It was, you know, I heard a rumor, don't quote me on it, but that Majestic 12 back in the day was going to utilize Hollywood to push their propaganda camp or educational campaign. I mean, if you ever watch Star Trek, like The Next Generation, when it's on television, if you put in closed caption in, it'll say brought to you by Department of Education. Department of Education. Yeah, I should have screenshotted that one time, but it's, and then I think most of the people are conditioned to accept meeting our neighbors, whoever they are out there.
Yeah.
And I will just say for the record, that congressional hearing, that little dot and that little triangle,
right?
I have seen way better stuff coming to MUFON. Okay. Now I know that who are these guys talking to? ATIP is talking to the intelligence community, and then they're talking to the FAA, but it's all in the government spectrum, right? And then you have MUFON that deals with the civilian aspect, right? And I just kind of feel like I would love to see a statistical chart or a graph to see how many reports they get and how many reports we get, because I know we get a ton. I mean, we get reports every day just for the state of Colorado, every other day, or sometimes 2 or 3 a day. Most of the average for the United States would be like 400 to 600 sightings for a month.
Wow.
Not all of them are unknown. Some of them we can find a down-to-earth explanation for it, or can prove it through Flight Radar 24 or that an aircraft flew over during that time and things like that. We do have a huge checklist that we have to go through before we come up with the case deposition as an unknown UAV or an unknown other. An unknown UAV would be, like the Tic Tac, and an unknown other would be something like an orb or dimensional or yeah. So, what's that you got there? Is that
that's from that meeting? One of the
Oh,
still.
it shows that I didn't finish it, right? I got about an hour and a half into it, and I didn't watch the second day. So,
well,
I just figured it was elementary for me, dear Watson.
it was incredibly. It was everything we thought it would be, and it wasn't a good thing. Yeah.
I forgot what congressman was that threw out, well, what about the UFOs shutting down our nukes or going over the nuclear power plants? And the look on their faces was like, oh, no, I don't know anything about that. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the average American knows about that.
I think this whole thing from the beginning of this group that they had looking into UFOs, in 2004, they started that so that they could release something. It's not everything that the government has or that the Majestic 12 has. It's none of that. It's just whatever they got in those few years,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sorry.
And they act like it's a new thing. Like, this is new. It just happened. It just popped in there. It was been going on for decades. If you
they're going to have to get a little bit more dramatic if they want people to pay attention, because this isn't doing it. And when they showed these images, they said that the triangle shape was made because of the aperture or the shutter of the camera. But I see a highlight there and it looks dimensional. I don't know.
I'll tell you, when I was in the Army, right before I left the Army, I bought a camcorder. And it was about, this big. It was the small ones back then. This is 1999. And it had a night shot, like an IR that could see night scope, kind of like a cheap night scope vision. Okay. And I remember we were doing a mission, like training mission, and the Black Hawk helicopter was rising and it was snowing that night. And I was right under it, I mean, if my captain saw me doing this, I'd probably get in trouble, but I stuck it in my rucksack. I was infantry. Anyway, when I filmed it, let me tell you what it looked like. The blades that were spinning produced an electric charge. Okay. And when it came out, the static electricity in the air, I'm talking about with the blade spinning, I was picking that up on night shot, and it looked alien. And when it started to come out of focus, it made a triangle shape. It looked like a black triangle leaving, but I was under a helicopter. So, and when I saw that video, I was thinking, that camera could be out of focus. It's hard. I would like to investigate it. If you guys could send me the metadata, but I doubt the United States government's going to do that. What you got here, sir?
This is the original one blown up that they showed in that same meeting, that dot, that little ball.
That could be anything. As me as an investigator, I would be like,
Mylar
balloon.
I
can't help you with that.
Mylar balloon.
A Mylar balloon. It could. Well, even that is so crappy that we get these reports of people filming UFOs, and the bad thing about people, if you're lucky to capture one, and you're gonna send it to MUFON, please do us an awesome favor and don't zoom up on the object. Make sure we've got something in the background to so we can get an idea of the size of it, like a mountain in the background or a stop sign or power lines.
Right.
And I can go out and film a star, put it on a tripod, and I could tell you that's a UFO.
Sure.
It's blinking all these crazy lights. Mm-hmm. It's just,
or a drone.
Well, drones have been a total pain in the hiney for us. There's some pretty awesome drones out there, and they just zip right up, stop on a dime, and then go behind a wood line, and you're just like, whoa, what is this?
I know, and they can compensate for wind and everything.
Mm-hmm.
They're incredible. I've flown one, and it's just unreal.
I've been an investigator for a while before drones. You can go buy them at the stores, So that is just another checklist of, it gets pretty tedious.
The older the case, the better. Oh, have you seen this? I just saw this the other day. I don't know the veracity of this. Maybe
Sure.
you've seen this. This was taken.
Hold on. I don't know. Don't tell me, but let me see if I can guess.
Okay.
That looks like, and I could be wrong, one of the first sightings that was reported a long time ago where the guy talked about it skipping on water, that pilot.
It looks
this something new?
It looks like that. Apparently, according to the person who took this, Lee something, Schendeller or something like that. He's got a weird last name. I got
okay. So this is a new picture.
Well, he said it was from the day of the Phoenix Lights that they went up in his buddy's Cessna, and he took several pictures of this thing. And this was one of them. He said most people saw the headlights in the front. In the front, it had a bunch of lights, like a line of headlights. And but from the back, this is what it looked like.
I've seen this come up on my social media feed, but I just scrolled past it. So this is like fresh off the press right here, right?
Well, he said he showed it 25 years ago, but he was getting ridiculed. So he just kind of like disappeared for a while. But now that people are talking about UFOs again, he thought he'd dust it off.
Phoenix Lights was 1997. Oh my God, has it been 25 years? Oh my God, that went fast.
And he said, and what happened when he released them again, people were attacking him again. I think, but maybe it's fake. And I thought, you know what? It looks kind of like an anchor. It looks like an anchor.
All right, it could be anything. I mean, is there any more to this picture, or is that just?
I know you want to hold. Is it someone's thumb holding the end there? That's why it didn't show.
Well, you're talking about a Cessna. I'm thinking that rings a bell. What was that actor that was flying?
Oh yeah, that was
was it Kirk Russell or
Kirk Russell? Yeah.
Really? Okay. So for your audience, they might know Kirk Russell was also flying his airplane and saw the Phoenix Lights and radioed into the tower. And then I think he came forward later on a TV show.
He forgot about it for like 20 years. All of a sudden he went, wait a minute, I was there. He was watching some news item about it. He was like, wait a minute. Now I remember. There's something like that happens, like when you see something and then you have like when you're driving, you almost hit a deer, and when you get to the place where you're going, you're going to tell everyone, but you completely forget that happened,
We're the only species that will walk into the woods and hear a tree snap and say, it was nothing, and continue on. Every other animal would be spooked, right?
Right. Speaking of animals, I don't know. I might need to go talk to a doctor, but I got something here, and I hope it's not what they're talking about. And it seems to be on people's hands. And I got something on my hand. What do you think?
Oh my God, you got the monkeypox.
Oh my goodness.
You better get your triple boosters. I'm sorry, dude.
I knew it was.
Strike one. If anybody's falling for that now, you got to wake up, people. You've got to wake up. The cognitive dissonance is getting out of control here. So do we really want to go through that again? I
think what we ought to do is everyone ought to get like the DVD series of Leave It to Beaver, and a few other nostalgic shows, and put them in your DVD player, or load your computer up to play only those and no news, just those. That might save us. I don't know.
Throw your TV out the window. I promise if there was no television, we wouldn't have. Never mind.
Yeah, my TV is not even plugged in. I have a computer.
I don't watch any mainstream news, but I learned this at a young age. When I was in the war, we had an Apache helicopter crash where we had to go in and rescue the pilots in Albania in 1999. So I was part of a crash retrieval operation. Wow. And as a young kid, I think I was 21. I guess to me, that's still a kid. But I was like, man, I'm a part of history here. This is awesome. I can't wait to read about it in the news. It's going to be all over the news, and it wasn't on the news, but I did read an Army Times magazine, and the article wasn't true at all.
Wow.
It was training mission, bang, okay. Yeah. I don't think that's what happened. I was there, but it's just, I kind of feel like sometimes journalists don't have any investigational skills. They just make it up as they go along, whatever sells, if it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I learned that as a young age. And then when 9/11 happened, I believed for some reason, it's just amazing that Osama bin Laden's face was popped up there less than 24 hours later, just like the JFK assassination. It's Oswald. We got to find him, Yeah. And keep in mind, people, it was aired in a newspaper, Oswald, on the other side before we even heard about it a day before. So everything is, it's just a whole lot of BS out there. And it's hard to, that's why I like your show, the title of your show, Truth Quest.
Yeah.
Because you've got to find that the truth is like the needle in the haystack, and we're digging and we're trying. That's all we're trying to do. That is the prize. That is the treasure. Because we've been bombarded with the foundation of a mountain of lies, and the foundation is crumbling. And when it does, it's going to be like a Jenga puzzle. It's just going to, as soon as I actually do believe in the very near future, all these lies that have been pushed on us will come around, and hopefully we'll get some disclosure, even related to geopolitical news and even with the ET situation and UFOs. So keep your fingers crossed on that, but don't hold your breath.
Yes. I got a question. Is there any cases that you can talk about that you've come across recently in your work as an investigator and a director now in Colorado? That's a hot spot, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the ones that are fresh in my mind that I find interesting, I can't talk about them because they're still under investigation, and it's ethically, it's not appropriate for me to say that, because I can be like, I think it's real, and my investigator goes, no, it's a leaf. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would have to go back.
Okay.
I could talk about cases I've done because they're fresh on my mind, but now that I'm looking at everybody else's cases, sometimes I'm on the edge of my seat thinking, damn, I really want to take that case, but when you move up in a supervisor position, you gotta, share the wealth, or what's the word? I don't know.
Share the glory.
I think, I'll talk about one case. I'll leave the details out of the people, and I believe it's completed, and it was just recent. Here in Colorado, somebody set up a deer cam, on a tree.
Yeah.
And they caught this object that looks just like, I don't know if you ever seen that movie, Flight of the Navigator. It's just like identical walnut shape craft. It's very symmetrical. And what's really crazy is when I first saw it, because I didn't assign it just yet. It popped up on my feed. I'm reading the case, and I go, okay, deer cam. All right. And I was like, oh, they uploaded some pictures. I click on the first one, and then bam, there it is.
Wow.
I swear to God, I'm not kidding. I stared at that thing for 45 minutes. I don't do that. I just stood there and looked at it, and I'm like, what the hell are you? I've seen a lot of stuff, and I know a lens flare, and I know a leaf blown in the wind, but when I'm standing there for 45 minutes and I can't, sitting here at my desk, just not saying a word, just looking at it.
Wow.
And the only thing I'm saying is WTF over and over.
Right.
I'm like, well, I'm going to sign this and figure out what's going on. What bothered me about it was there was an outline that looked like a force field around it. Like there's the distortion of the sky. You have a blue sky, and then you have an object. I wish I could show it to you. I'm so sorry. I didn't plan on this to talk about case. But let's say like it looks like this, right? If you can imagine like an outline that went around it, that's perfect with the shape. Okay. So I started thinking, does the deer cam create this type of photographic anomaly that it's actually something to do with the photograph? So our investigators really went hard balls to the wall with pulling up the schematics of this deer cam and looking at other pictures that it took. And basically came up with the conclusion it's an unknown, just as I thought when I was looking at it.
Wow.
It made me feel better that I had a second and third opinion, but there were other people at MUFON that were like, no, this is a leaf. So, everybody's got their point of view.
Oh, leaf.
So different personalities. Some people, I don't know, but to me, I think it was real. And so it was in the back of my head, and the case came up as an unknown. And I think they were going to put that case in the MUFON Journal. We have a MUFON Journal that comes out every month for subscribers or whatever. And another photograph from a different case looked identical to that one. It was around the same month, but different state. So I get to look at all this stuff. I'm trying to come up with a pattern. And I've come up with, as of right now, my conclusion is there is no patterns. It's just, if somebody's out there happen to catch one, then great. But it's the same type walnut type configuration where it had like a protruding dome that looks like a fighter jet where the cockpit sits, where, that part. And deer camera is really not that great, but if it was a better camera, I bet you I would bet real money that if it is what I think it is, that you might be able to see the pilot inside that part of that walnut.
Wow.
But it's hard to tell because, pixelations and things like that once you start getting really close. But what bothered me the most was it was symmetric and it was perfect. It was in clear focus. And it was like hovering there. So it wasn't movement, it was like just parked there. And it was far away. So that means it's a big sucker. You know what I mean? Because they went out there and checked it out.
So it was a video that was taken of it?
No, just a deer cam picture.
Just a picture. Okay.
Yes, sir. And there was another guy that had another picture of one that looked really similar. But the only difference was instead of it being, so if you people, your audience, if y'all ever seen Flight of the Navigator, it's an old movie that came out in the 80s. It was a Walt Disney movie, but it was about a UFO that NASA covered. And that's exactly what I think it looked like, except it wasn't silver. It was like a dark brown. But this other video was the same object, but tilted vertically. So it kind of gave it like a walnut type shape. So that was intriguing. And that happened, I don't know, probably 3 months ago. And we're still getting some really good sightings coming in. But like I say, I really can't talk about it until I'll tell you what, Aaron, the next time I come on your show, I'll make sure I have some of the top best 10 that I think for the month or whatever. And I'll make sure there's some photographs and stuff that I can show you. And I guarantee you it's way better than that that congressional hearing. Anyway, sorry, you can fall asleep in that place. But some of the cases that I've done, that one, and I know I've talked to you about that before, about that Star Team case that I did with Bigelow, where, there you go. Yep. Similar to that, but the front part had like a capsule, or like if you look down at the bottom, do you see how that looks?
Sure.
That's what it looked like. It's just sitting right there in the sky. And yeah.
I flipped it over.
Yep. I would say very close, but it would be brown.
Interesting.
So maybe Walt Disney knew something that I didn't know. Maybe. But anyway, that definitely, like I say, I stared at it for 45 minutes. I actually had to look at the clock and I go, I can't believe I'm sitting here this long. I've got other things to do with my life, but I just am so perplexed by what this could be, just by just looking at it without investigating, not checking the metadata, just the picture alone. And it had like a force field outline around it.
Wow.
So I want to know, how can you fake a picture on a deer cam? You know? So yeah, we had a photo analyst tear into it, and yeah, 100% real. Whatever it was, that picture took an object that was there at that time. And as for the lining that went around it, that's still an unknown. I mean, we can't answer every question.
No. How could you?
So when you kind of get dumbfounded by that, you're just kind of, all right. And I approve the cases, and we also, my assistant director will go through and spot check everything and make sure every T and I, is dotted, that kind of thing, before we presented it. And I believe it had the potential to be in the MUFON Journal, but I haven't looked at the MUFON Journal to see if they put it in.
Okay.
But I will talk to those investigators, and I'll ask if I can use permission to, and the witness, ask if I can have permission to show that photograph. So,
yeah.
So what happens at MUFON? I hear a lot of people say MUFON's I've had not a lot of people. I had one guy very disenchanted. I guess maybe we did a report of his and we came up with a logical explanation, and he wasn't happy about it. And he said MUFON's a black hole. And it made me think about that for a minute. It's like, why? Why would he think that? I was like, I never see it that way. I see it as all these photographs that we have and the files and the investigations that we've done that are attached to that go into a CMS database that anybody in MUFON can look up.
Oh, wow.
And we can go back years. It doesn't matter as long. And it's basically, it's not a black hole. It's for UFO research purposes. And that's might be, you've heard of the term flaps, and you've heard of the term, where sometimes every once in a while, major sightings of UFOs are seen across state lines. And we try to find a pattern. But for me, I'm not an analyst. I guess you could say, a field investigator. Let's go out and gather the information and put it. So I know that MUFON has people that are looking for things like that, but MUFON as a whole thinks that we're being visited, without a shadow of a doubt. It's just so many people come and report their sightings to us, and it's just so many. It's common sense. It's like saying that there's nothing out there when there's an infinity of stars, that have planets around them.
Right.
We can't be the only one. You are really naive if you think that. Or if we're in the Matrix, then that's a whole nother ball game, right? We're wasting our time investigating UFOs. It's just a program, right?
Right.
I think that I always hope that what we can learn from this phenomenon, we might be able to learn something about ourselves.
Yeah.
Who we are, who are we? Why are we here? What is this place? What is this reality?
Right.
And hopefully, in the future, when we can go out and explore, we'll get some answers. It seems like they're the big secret keepers. They're the ones keeping the secret. It's not the government. If they really wanted to show up, they could do it, and they could just park right over a city and not leave. But it does seem like they're getting a little bit. There's a lot more material coming in, and that might be due to the inventions of smartphones and people actually catching this stuff. And what's really cool is, another case I did. This isn't UFO, but this is how this works. A guy's out shooting, duck hunting, right? And he's got his fake ducks out there, and he hears this loud roar. It's like ear shattering, right? And he looks up and he doesn't see anything, but he thinks there's something right above him. So he reports it to MUFON. Well, right before that happened, he took a picture of his fake ducks that were out there. He said, right when I took that picture, the sound happened. So I was like, well, I know that there's no, I was like, is there a UFO in that picture or anything? And he's like, no. I said, I still want to see that picture. Right? You say it happened right when you took that picture. He's like, yeah, I was going to take more than one. I was going to take 4. of my setup, and I took one, and then the loud noise happened, and I put the camera down, and I looked up, and he didn't see anything. So he sends me that picture, and what I do is I check the metadata, right? Mm-hmm. And the metadata will tell you time, date, location, the exact second when he took that picture. And then I get on Flight Radar 24, and I plug in that information, and I kind of go 30 minutes before, 30 minutes back to see what planes are flying around. And I do see a couple of 747s, that are way up 30,000 feet, far away, probably about 30 miles away. Mm-hmm. And we got a lot of Air Force bases around here. We got Buckley Air Force Base, this is Colorado. So I watch the fighter jet leave, heading in that direction, but then it goes away on Flight Radar because the military stuff, when they turn that off. So civilians can't see it. Sure. My best guess is drawing a straight line to where that sucker was taken off before it disappeared on Flight Radar, and it goes right over the path of where he was at. Wow. So I'm assuming that a fighter jet was booking it, and by the time he heard the noise, it was already gone. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that's like coming to a down-to-earth explanation, whatever I could gather. And of course, I explained it to him, and he said, I felt 20% UFO and 80% fighter jet. I was like, okay, well, I feel good about what I did, because it does look like a fighter jet before it went off Flight Radar, disappeared on Flight Radar, and it was heading straight to your location. But who knows? He could have went left, right, anywhere.
Sure. Well, that's interesting.
Yes, sir. So we do a lot of checking a lot of sites with Flight Radar 24 and a stellatarium, if it's celestial objects, or Heavens Above is an amazing website. You can track all satellites that are flying around. And did I ever tell you about iridium flares?
Iridium flares.
Everybody. It's a good one. Okay, so you ever seen Star Trek where the warp coils charge and then boom, they're gone, or Star Wars when the Millennium Falcon launches, right?
Yeah, sure.
Some of these satellites have an antenna and solar panels, and they know, like that website knows, when it's tumbling that it's going to reflect the sun down on the people, right? Or so you can see it, and it'll even tell you the magnitude of the brightness. So you can actually predict when iridium flare is going to happen and what it looks like for a person that's not, doesn't know anything about it. It looks like a little dot because you see the satellite, right? And then it flares up real bright and then it disappears. And so everybody's like, I saw it take off. It warped out, because that becomes the culture of what we see on television. Sure. And so we put it in our minds that I saw a UFO just gliding by, and then all of a sudden it got real bright and just boom, it was gone. And that's the tumbling of the satellite. So that's when I hear that's one of the first places I go to is Heavens Above. And I check where were you at and where was the azimuth? What direction were you looking at it? And I can go back in time through historical data and see if there was any iridium flares in the area that you could see with the naked eye, and the magnitude, the brightness of it. And even if there's nothing going on, I still put it in my case report that I checked it. You got to check everything. I can go on and on and on about this. But when we get to the point to where we go through our entire checklist and we can't figure out what it is, it's an unknown. Doesn't mean it's an alien spaceship from Venus or whatever. It just means we exhausted every resource we've got. And but sometimes, like that one that I stared at for 45 minutes, I've been doing this for a while. I was like, wow, what is this? So I live for this stuff, and I've been volunteering for 17 years, and I feel I'm in MUFON for life. I'm never leaving.
That's awesome. I got a question now. When you're like in the case where that guy took the picture, he knew exactly when this was.
Yes, sir.
Is there any way to go back into Google Earth, because they're always taking pictures, satellite pictures of the Earth? You go back and just rewind it to the time?
Only if you're in the intelligence community.
Oh, then
okay. So here's a problem with that. I think it used to be like when we're in war, you don't want the enemy using that to see where troop locations are at. You know what I mean? If it's live, right? You follow me on that?
Yeah.
But I always was like, I've been in the security field for, that's how I make my bread. And I stare at a lot of computer monitors, and I call them time machines. because even though I've got tons of monitors, somebody breaks into a car. This is like way back in the day, and I missed it. That doesn't mean I'm a bad security guard. It's just I can still solve it. So my investigation skills come into effect, and I can. When'd your car get broken into? Do you know? And then start plugging, and then I see the guy. I don't get a good video of him, but he's going to walk by one of our main cameras. So I'll hop to that one and then get an awesome screenshot.
Yeah.
And then send it to the boss and go, we need to send this to the police or whatever. And I'm pretty sure satellites can do that. Like OJ Simpson. Did OJ Simpson really murder his wife? I'm pretty sure the intelligence community, if they want to waste their resources on it, can watch OJ walking out of his house and see everything that he's doing. You know what I mean?
Put on those gloves. Yeah.
Whatever. I don't know. Yeah. They can see that if it's heads or tails of a quarter, a buddy of mine who worked, when he worked in the intelligence community, he did a lot of his work. He designed missiles. Okay. And he did models and things like that. And he did a lot of his work inside the basement of his house. Well, the basements have these hatches that open up, and it was getting hot down there. So he opened it up and satellite went over and they saw that his door was open, and he gets a call and they say, you need to close your door.
Whoa.
So yeah, they could do that. But me I am just as limited as you are. It's whatever. I mean, what we can do on the internet, use other websites to help, like even weather data. Somebody says it was storming and lightning that night. I got the date and time. I look it up and there was no storms. There was no lightning.
Right.
Historical data of weather underground is fantastic. I can check the dew point, temperature, and everything.
So now, how many members of MUFON are there in America? Approximately?
Oh my God, dude.
A lot?
Thousands. Yeah. But we're international.
Okay. Well, I got an idea for you guys.
Sure. I'm all ears.
I'm sure maybe a lot of your members are maybe a little bit on the high-tech side. They're like tech. They might actually have a drone. So whenever there's a sighting in a near area where some MUFON people have drones, they could mobilize and go and check it out, like crowdsourcing.
Well, yeah, I don't see why not. If it's, but most of these UFOs don't hang around very long. But if it was something like Stephenville, that would have been a great resource to use.
Like the flying Walmart.
You can't. Yeah, the flying Walmart, right? That's what the police officer said. I can't think of his name right now.
No satellite pictures of that. Come on.
And then, MUFON did the best they could with what we had during the time.
Sure.
And so we reached out to the military because the police were basically saying we saw fighter jets. Everybody said we saw fighter jets, but chasing these things. So contact the military. Military said absolutely no fighter jets in the area. None. So we reached out to local radar, local airports, and asked them, and they were like, "Yeah, there was fighter jets, right? They had I think about 8 or 9 of them. I can't remember the exact number, chasing one of these big objects going right over Crawford Ranch, which is restricted airspace."
Yeah.
So then MUFON comes back to the military and says, "Hold on a second, we've got radar data that says that you lied to us." So they recant their statement and basically say, "Oh, we did have fighter jets out there, but they were simply running a training operation, or training missions." And so it's always, but just keep in mind that not one investigator did that case. That whole town saw it. So Texas, I believe it was, I don't remember if it was Ken Cherry or Steve Hudgens, mobilized a bunch of Texan investigators and other investigators from other states to come have a town hall meeting, and everybody was lined up to tell their stories, and we just did one case after a time. You got people that don't even know each other, reporting the same thing. It's you got a great case. You got a solid case here. Now, that was, what year was that? That was 2008. Don't quote me on it, but we didn't have drones like you could go during that time. But that would have been fantastic if we had like a strike team with a van that we could just roll out 100 drones with AI to go search real quick and see any movement in the sky, start snapping pictures or something, and then bringing it back in real time so we can control it and go, whoa, there's activity over here. But by the time we were there, it was already over with. But keep in mind, this incident did not just happen one night; it happened multiple nights.
Right. Right.
And the phone at MUFON was ringing off the hook. So
I bet. Wow.
yeah. So
that was exciting.
Yes, sir.
Now, I mean, historically, I'm sure someone might have access to a satellite picture that might have caught that while it was over the ground.
But just remember, that's the property of the United States government. It's not theirs. So if they do decide to take that and show it to the public, they're in deep trouble. It would have to be released, you know, and I doubt from looking at this,
yeah,
ain't gonna happen. We could just throw a grain of pepper up in the air and that's a UFO, you know.
It's like a pinata and you hit it and there's only like one piece of candy and it's not the kind of candy you like in it, you know.
Or it's already been chewed and wrapped back up.
Yeah.
Right. It's insulting to our intelligence that they act like it's a new thing.
Yes.
This just happened.
Yeah.
Well, we can go way back when I think the hearings back then were way better than the hearings now. And if you look at it, there was a lot of empty seats in there, you know. But like I say, when I look at things like this, I'm trying to figure out what are they trying to clog the news networks up.
Exactly. You know? Right.
There's always something else going on. But you and I know what's going on. We're aware. So,
you know, I saw a clip of a movie. Someone sent me this clip of a movie. It looked like a British movie from 1968. And it was a sci-fi movie where they manufacture the news. And he said, come in here. I want to show you something. Here's the news from 1973. And they had all these models of a moon landing thing. And it's all fake. We make it all up. And a lot of our news is manufactured that way. So it's very interesting.
They have their 4 a.m. talking points and they just read the teleprompter. We need a Walker Cronkite or something, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
we do have a Walter Cronkite. Red Pill 78.
Yes, absolutely. That guy's top notch right there.
Isn't he?
I love Zach. He's great.
He rocks.
Man, the missus listen to him all the time.
Yeah.
Hey, you know.
He's got you on. That's how I found out about you, actually.
Oh, you know what? Let's talk about that for a minute. So, yeah, Zach invited me on. I didn't expect him to invite me on. I just reached out to him and told him I loved the show and yada, yada. And there was just happened to have, and it was like way back. I mean, he didn't reach out to me. I just said, I love the show, blah, blah, blah. And then there was something going on in the news about UFOs. And he hit me up and he called me and we talked on the phone. And I told him, I gave him my 2 cents. And I guess he was just feeling me out to see if I was a traitor or something. You know, I don't know. But anyway, we hit it off really well. He invited me on the show. I didn't expect that. And I think the show had excellent ratings. It was coming in. And then he goes, I got somebody that wants to talk to you. And I was sitting there going, oh, great. Who's this going to be? And you came on, Aaron, right? Yeah. And you had your head turned this way and your hair was all like, you know, all cool, right? And you were pondering and you looked at me and I was like thinking, because I didn't know you, Aaron. And I was thinking, oh, this guy's looks like he's going to tear me a new one with some UFO questions. I didn't know you were a UFO buff like myself. And man, we were having the interview. We were having a good time talking.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was a great interview. But I actually told Zach, I said, listen, you've got way important things to do than talk about UFOs on your show. I said, geopolitical news right now, you need to focus on that. And when the SHIT hits the fan and they're all in the sky, you know, call me because I might tell you it's Project Bluebeam, you know, call me when then, because I know UFOs are entertaining, but really he's doing real important work. And I'm not surprised that when all this is over with, you know, that they're going to pin a medal on him, even though he hasn't served.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's just the way I feel about it.
Yeah.
That's just my 2 cents. He's a great man. I like him.
Thank you for your service, Red Pill 78. Zach,
yeah, right. Well,
Protector. He rocks.
He does rock.
And so I guess we're winding down here. Is there any Now, do you have a website, or maybe if someone's in the Colorado area, they want to join MUFON and become an investigator, how do they
Yeah.
get a hold of you?
Well, just keep in mind that we do have an international, like if you go to the MUFON website, that's MUFON International. You can file a report there, and then they figure out what state you're in. They send it to like Colorado, Texas, or whatever. But mostly each state has their own chapters, excuse me, and they have their own website. So ours in Colorado would be Colorado MUFON, or Texas MUFON, or whatever state that you're in.
Mhm.
And you can reach out, and we have monthly meetings, so you can go meet the investigators. And we usually have guest speakers. Like our last guest speaker was David Politis. He came. We had a huge turnaround. We had a lot of people, and then a lot of those people come up and I want to be a MUFON investigator, and they come talk to me or talk to and I show them the process. They have to do a little bit of work. They have to study the MUFON manual, which is about this thick.
Really?
Well, yeah, you need to study it because you got to take a test.
Wow.
And the test is 100 questions and or more. And you have to go to, we have a MUFON university, and you have to take courses like basic astronomy classes. We're not going to teach you about aliens from what planet. We're going to teach you basic astronomy, things that people commonly mistake, so get you up to speed as being an investigator. And then when you finally get all that completed and you ace your test, you get your UFO license. But when you're assigned a case, you're assigned as a secondary investigator, and you have a expert investigator go along with you, and you have to do 5 of them, before we let you loose.
Wow.
Okay. At least that's how Colorado does it. And I'm training a guy right now, and man, he's really smart. He's a pilot, and usually pilots, that's a good skill to have. I've also had one more thing. I don't know how much time we got. How many more minutes?
Well, we're 1 minute over, but go ahead.
Okay, you sure?
Yeah.
What was really strange was we have like police officers that want to become MUFON investigators, or federal counterintelligence guys that are retired that want to become investigators. But back in the day, that never happened, ever. It's because it's being televised on television. It's like the mainstream media is now talking about it, so I guess it's got to be true. I'm sorry, I'm being a smart ass, but anyway, it's very, UFOs have been a taboo subject for quite some time. If you were a homicide detective, but you wanted to be a MUFON investigator, and you're in court, the other side could be like the defense and the prosecutor could be like, well, aren't you into conspiracies? I hear you're a MUFON investigator, and that might throw the whole case under. That was like back in the day, but now it's not a taboo subject anymore. They're not playing that cheesy X-Files music in the background every time an investigator gets on with a debunker waiting to tear you a new one. It's now being embraced. So to me, that's it's been a long time coming, Aaron. Long time coming.
I think so too, and I think that it is important enough for Red Pill to talk about UFOs, because I think when people realize that we're not alone, it's gonna make this world a better place. I think. I have a feeling.
And I agree with you on that.
Very, very important. It might not seem as important, but I think it's every bit as important.
It is, but dude, nobody's going to want to talk about anything else once they find out. And that day's coming one of these days. See, disclosure is going to be when they roll out the bodies, they roll out the material, and you get to touch it, smell it, look at it,
or shake hands with the Martian.
Right. So,
but it's coming, folks. Get ready. Brace yourself.
Brace yourself for impact.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Jeremy Ray, for coming on to the Truth Quest. I really appreciate it, and looking forward to the next time.
Thank you. I'd love to be back on. I enjoy your company, sir.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Take care, and God bless. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And thank you to all the members of the chat. We'll see you next time, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, peace in.